Hello to everyone listening. I'm so excited. Today is a really amazing day because I have my first ever podcast guest. I have brought in an incredible woman who I'm so excited to introduce you to, Carina Remi. Hello.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Oh, you're so welcome. Okay, so let me tell you all how amazing Carina is. And let me give you a little background. Carina and I met through a community that we're both in. And ever since we probably had our first phone call, we've stayed connected. And I've just followed her. I follow her on Instagram. I'm seeing some incredible things that she's doing, seeing some amazing programs she's creating, and featured in some amazing magazines and articles as well. So let me tell you all a little bit about Carina. So Carina is a trailblazing spiritual thought leader, for real. She emanates charisma and uplifts those around her. Over the course of 8 transformative years, she has triumphed over adversities, emerging as a radiant beacon of light, which is perfect why you're here today on what we're going to talk about. Unyielding in the face of struggles, Carina's passion for service and magnetic presence define her. She graciously imparts the wisdom gained from her own experiences, guiding and inspiring others on their path to a spiritual awakening and self-realization. How incredible is that? A total mouthful.
Yeah,
okay,
thank you.
Oh, you're so welcome. All right, everyone. Here's what we're going to be talking about today. And this is something that I think everyone's going to be able to relate to. And Carina's going to bring a really interesting perspective on this as well, because her and I have lived 2 very different types of lives. So we'll both be giving various examples throughout. So we are going to be talking about navigating setbacks. I'm going to say setbacks. Anyone watching this on YouTube, setbacks in quotations, and building resilience. And we face adversities and setbacks every day, right? This is something every single day that we encounter, that we face, and we want to share with you and normalize this. First and foremost, I'm all about normalizing. So we're going to normalize this today. But most importantly, I think, Carina, you've really created this resilience and embody a resilience every single day. And obviously, it's not something that you might feel strong at every single day, but something that you definitely have. So let's start off here. I would love for you to share with the listeners, and thank you everyone for listening, a little bit more about you and maybe some of the setbacks that you faced. Let's say it could be any time in the past year or any big setbacks that stand out for you.
Yes. Okay. So I am a writer at heart. And then through that passion, I just started diving into wellness. So I saw it as a big outlet of release. And it was just simply because I had a very hard time finding my voice and being able to express myself. So a lot of the setbacks that I faced in my life was the inability to be heard and the inability to be understood. And so I used writing as a release and as a therapeutic method to let what I needed out and still feel some sense of validation within what it was I was going through. And a lot of that kind of stemmed through my upbringing in the term, culturally speaking. I'm from a European background. So within that European dynamic and in that culture, it's very much women are kind of suppressed in different ways, whereas you follow the lead of the man and you do as you're told and just don't make any fuss about it. And especially coming from an immigrant family as well, you come to this country and you just zip it and you just go along. Don't make any noise, right? So it was very difficult. So that was a lot of the struggles that I dealt with, and a lot of the setbacks, so to say, that I dealt with was the inability to actually find a voice and then express that outwardly.
Yeah, absolutely. And that is something that, so many people listening are going to be able to relate to that. And I'm really thankful that you're sharing this with everyone because my upbringing completely different, not from an immigrant family, not having my own types of setbacks, but nothing like what you have faced. Who would you say, as you reflect back, who might have been like a role model for you, like within your family or outside of your family growing up? Did you have women that had felt that they had a voice and were using their voice, or were you primarily surrounded by women that didn't?
I would probably say what initiated was having no one that did, and then feeling that like that anger within me at all the powerful women that were surrounded by me, but were so suppressed by it. We're so kind of just quiet, silenced, right? And it infuriated me because I'm like, you're so powerful, just like use it. And they never did. And so seeing that over and over and over again, that is what essentially prompted me to break out and do what I did and follow what I followed for that reason, because it really bothered me that I didn't have anybody to be able to like kind of like look up to or talk to or say anything to. So it was like, I'm going to do this in spite of all of it.
Yeah, absolutely, that can be a challenge. I can only imagine. And look at you where you are today, how you persevered through that. So in that moment, so you were touching a little bit on kind of when you had that break, when you're like, okay, no, I'm going to use my voice. And you said you used writing as a tool. So when for you along your journey, because some people listening, you're new to them, they've never met you before, they don't know much more about your story. What was that moment in your journey that really got you to break free and to realize, okay, I'm going to start using my voice, going to start pursuing on this journey you've been on?
It was basically, I had enough. Like there was just that one day where I can't even say there was an exact moment, because they were just like kind of crumbles all the way through until like one day I just like something exploded inside me and I'm like, I'm just going to write my story, because if no one that's around me is going to listen to me, then if I put it down and I put it out there, at least there will be someone out there that will listen. And whether it's acknowledged or they come to me and they say something to me, it really doesn't matter. What mattered at that point was that I released what had been like suppressed and like pushed down for so long, and that I was avoiding dealing with because I didn't have the environment to be able to deal with it. And I didn't have the space that would welcome it. And so I created the space for myself, or else it was never going to happen. And I think that's really what ignited it, was like, I'm never going to be heard. I'm never going to be understood by those around me. So how can I still get what it is that I need without continuously banging my head on a concrete wall, was kind of the deal, right? Like there's like the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. And that's what I was doing for so long in my life, that I was like, okay, time to get off the treadmill, because I'm not going anywhere.
Yeah, for sure. And I think a lot of people listening will be able to relate to this in many aspects of their life, where they are that, hamster on a wheel, that person just running on a treadmill, going absolutely nowhere, not choosing to create the happiness that you want or the life that you want, right? You knew or realized, you hit a point that you knew you had a choice. You had a choice to use your voice, or you could continue on being silenced.
Yeah. And it
So,
oh, go
no,
ahead.
no, go ahead. Go ahead.
And it wasn't something that led to good things. I found that when we suppress these things and when we don't actually deal with them, they manifest in very unhealthy and very toxic ways. And so it's so important to acknowledge that as well, because then that also gets you in a victim mindset and creates more setbacks, because you're actually not learning what you need to learn and moving where you need to go. You're just kind of sitting there complaining about it and then doing nothing about it.
Yeah, no doubt. It reminds me of this quote I read today, which was, it was all about like how you look at your life. And so 10% of our life is about what happens to us, and 90% of our life is the way we react to it
Yes.
and the way we think about it.
Yeah.
And so that's really interesting. So I'd love to know, obviously, you've been studying and learning and evolving and growing personally yourself, learning about the mind, and you have an incredible program you've created around the conscious mind, subconscious mind, educating on that. Now, like you, have learned a lot about these things, read a lot about these types of things. And I feel that maybe a lot of people listening don't have that in-depth understanding of mindset on how the mind works, how to use the mind to help you when you're facing adversities and setbacks. So how would you say, as you look at yourself now versus yourself, let's say 10 years ago?
Oh my
So
God.
I know, right? So as you look at that, how would you say that you handled setbacks and adversities then versus how you handle it now?
Oh my gosh, it's totally mindset, because how I handled it before was very much victim mentality and thinking like, why is this happening to me? What did I do to deserve this? I can't believe, like, I keep trying. It was very much, I'm stuck in my ways and I'm not trying to open myself to what is being offered. And it's very much looking for excuses and justifications as to why you're still in that same cycle without actually stepping back and reflecting. So that was a lot of the things that from before that were just, again, very toxic, very unhealthy, because you end up just putting yourself right back into those same scenarios, into those same kind of situations that give you those same outcomes. And then again, you're faced with that victim mentality and I tried better this time. Like, why is this always at some point you just kind of have to step away from that. Versus now, a lot of what I do is whenever anything comes up is I always ask, what is the blessing within the lesson? What is it that's being offered to me? What is being given to me? Because a lot of the times we think that it's an attack, but it's not an attack on us. It's an opportunity for us to grow. And it is about utilizing that and not resisting it, because the more we resist and we place blame on everything else, the less we're going to be able to change the one thing that we can, which is ourselves. Right. And so when we step back and we look at that, okay, what is this teaching me? What is this offering me? What is this opening up for me? And we ask more empowering questions rather than self-limiting ones, is what allows for us to actually move into that direction of growth and evolve in the ways that we're supposed to evolve.
That's beautiful. And I think this might be a harsh reality for some people listening, because you very well might, not you, Carina, or those listening very well might be having that victim mindset, or you certainly know someone around you that plays that victim card, right? And it's very easy, again, as we're talking about navigating setbacks and challenges and adversities that we face, it is so easy. Once you face one or two challenges in a row, you're like, why the F is this happening? Why is this happening to me? And it's very easy to say that. So I'm happy you brought that up, because I hear that a lot from not only my clients, but I hear that from even friends or family when things aren't going exactly as you hope. But this is life, and we're here to normalize this. Setbacks happen. And like Carina said, it's a lot about mindset and how you look at it. I learned something amazing over the last year, and I think about it anytime I catch myself saying, why did this happen? Or I start to feel like I'm being a little bit of a victim.
Yeah.
Or if I see other people doing it, I'll kindly ask or suggest and think for myself. I say, okay, this is not happening to me. This is happening for me. So just like you said, can you say that quote you said, or what you said again about the blessed and lesson?
Oh, the blessing in the lesson.
Yeah.
So
what is the blessing in this lesson?
Yeah. Because that's essentially what it comes down to, right? And the more that we understand that we're not being attacked and everything is actually working in its divine order as it should be, for us to grow and evolve, is how we can, is when we stop resisting. And when we stop that resistance, we're able to flow. And that's what keeps us. And I actually saw a video the other day, which was actually beautiful, which setbacks are actually set-ups, right? If you think of a catapult, the catapult, in order to go to its next stage, in order to be launched to its next development, whatever it may be going, it needs to be pulled back. So a lot of the times it isn't, we can't get so caught up in what is being pulled back, because that is launching us to where we need to go. And so it's a matter of embracing that so that we're able to welcome in what's supposed to come in for us.
Yeah, I love that. That's so good. Setbacks are set ups. And what a great example of, especially to using your hands, anyone watching the video, of pulling the catapult back. Or like a slingshot, you have to pull it back in order to go forward. Love that. That is so good. That's cool. Hopefully everyone listening, it's like, oh yeah, okay, this sounds great. Yes, they're starting to relate to that. Okay. Before we move on to some of the resilience pieces, I just would love to know from your experience, from your life, resistance. So as listeners are hearing this, they may not really fully understand, like, because you may not even realize, anyone listening right now, you may not even realize that you are resisting, like accepting this or resisting forgiveness, So in your eyes, Carina, or in an example maybe that you felt, what is a way that you resisted? Because that might help listeners better to understand so we don't get.
Well, okay. So resistance, I find, is like when you are being shown the same lesson over and over and over again, but you're not heeding the lesson, right? So for an example, I did, and like at one point, substance abuse was very predominant in my coping mechanisms. And that was my resistance towards coping and actually dealing with things, which was on the forefront. And then so all these problems kept coming around, and that was because I was resisting learning the lesson, because I found I was numbing it, or I was coping with it in other ways, right? It's like you keep applying for a job, for example, and you keep getting denied. Well, maybe that's because you're applying for the wrong job, or maybe you're not realizing that there's something else meant for you. And like, that's a lot of the times it's like the resisting what is not working for us. And what we do is we think that it's just not working for us, when really it's just trying to navigate us in a different direction. But because we're so holding on to it, we're not realizing that it's actually resistance, and we're not accepting that this isn't what it is for us. It has to be this.
Yeah, that's so great. And I think this is an opportunity for us all to reflect on, okay, what is an area of your life that you feel you're not quite as far as you thought you would be right now, or where you're feeling like you're just not getting ahead, you're feeling a setback or facing a challenge. Something we can ask ourselves is, okay, has this happened before? You know what I mean? Is this repeated? Have I experienced this? Like you said, insanity, right? Because we don't even realize our natural behaviors. So we might just consistently be doing the same thing because it feels comfortable, it feels easy. But like you said, if something's not working out and you're facing some type of challenge, taking a look at it from a different perspective, or taking a step back and being like, okay, wait a minute, why is this happening? Okay, this is happening for me. This has happened before. Why have I not learned? How can I learn from this? And how can I maybe, like you said, navigate a different path to ideally reach a better outcome, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I remember when I was on the job hunt, I just kept applying for jobs, and I was denied. And I have great credentials, and I just kept feeling very beaten down by it. And then I realized it was because that wasn't the path that was meant for me. There was something else that needed to be explored, and I needed to get uncomfortable. And like the universe, God, source, whoever it is, the divine energies of the world didn't want me to fall into that comfort zone. Because if they give me what I want, then it's not going to be what I need. And essentially everything's working for our highest actualization. And it's about acknowledging that, because or else we're resisting our true potential because we want something else. And what
The
we
job
want,
the job hunting is such a great example, and I definitely know that can feel like such a setback and bring you down so much when you're not getting those jobs. I was in a similar position. I was building my business and then seeking out, I do contract management consulting, contract project management. And earlier in the year, I applied to so many jobs, and I was like, I was in reality, I applied for jobs I was overqualified for because I was just looking for a job that I could go in, do easily. And I was applying to jobs that require someone to have maybe like 8 to 8-ish years experience, let's just say. I had 16. Like I could basically be a director.
Oh.
And I mean, again, then I realized, wait a minute, why am I not applying to director level positions? Like I could get a contract role as a director, like no doubt. And it's just so interesting because I got either a lot of no replies. Had a whole spreadsheet I was tracking everywhere I applied. It was shocking to me. It was humbling, to be honest, on not getting hired because I was like, what the fuck is going on? I am so hireable. Like I'm like
that bitch.
right? I'm like, hire me. I am good. Like I know I am. Anyway, it's funny, but it's such a great example because yeah, it's so easy to look at that and be like, and even just keep repeating it. I'm not gonna lie, I did apply to a lot of jobs and not get them. And it took me a moment till one day I realized, wait a second. Like I was like, do I have a typo on my CV? Like I was kind of like, there's something wrong.
There's something going on. But
Yeah.
it's interesting because now probably when you look back at it, you understand why it didn't work out, right? And it could have been that one of those jobs, like one of those jobs that you were applying for, maybe they would have required more of your time. Maybe they would have been more stressful. Maybe they would have required you to travel more. And then all that, if you're trying to grow your business, it won't allow you to grow your business. And so again, it's like, okay, you want this so you can pay your bills, but that's not what you need to grow your business. And like it wants to give you this, it wants to actualize your potential, but we're doing all of this, right? And so that's really like how I see it when I step back and reflect on those things.
1,000%. And I think that's one of the hardest things to accept is like, I always say to people too, is, well, there's obviously something better out there for you.
Yes.
And they're like, what? Like, oh no, but I want this. And I'm like, well, you didn't get it, which means you weren't supposed to get it.
Yes.
And again, not having an understanding in energy and frequencies and, you know, even having a belief of any type of higher power, like you said, universe, divine, God, whatever it is, it's like without having any faith in any of that, then of course you're only going to focus on what's the reality in front of you. And the reality would be, well, I guess I suck and I'm not going to hireable because I'm not getting these positions. What's so interesting, then we'll move on to resilience, is I did get a contract position and it did work out amazingly because it's with a team in the UK. So I work 6 a.m. to 12. So it's like it's perfect for me because then it gives me the entire afternoon uninterrupted. And also what it ended up doing is it makes me realize my time is very precious. And before I had a lot of time to focus on my business and I was slugging on getting some things done, you know, like I was like, it's summertime and I was enjoying the summer, but now I have more structure to my day and literally like the best possible thing worked out. So it's so interesting.
Yeah. I love that. I love looking back and realizing that like it really truly always works out.
For sure. Okay, so let's now talk a little bit. We talked a lot about about setbacks and different types of setbacks, resistance. Now let's talk about resilience. So building resilience really, as I like to think about it, leading up to this podcast episode, is it's like self-confidence. Self-confidence is like a muscle, you can build it. Resilience, if you feel right now you're not a very resilient person, well, this is something you can work on. So to you, Carina, what does resilience mean to you?
We are all resilient. That's like point one, because if we wouldn't be here if we weren't, because life would have already crashed us, torn us up, and put us, 6 feet under if that wasn't the case. Right. So if you're listening to this, if you're watching this, know that you are all resilient, because again, you wouldn't be here if you weren't, right? Life has knocked each and every one of us down in so many different ways, and yet we still stand here today. So resilience to me is just getting right back up and brushing it off and like Jay-Z, brush off your shoulder and just like go about your day, because at the end of it, so long as you are standing, that's all that matters. A lot of people have this misconception of resilience being tied with success. And what is success if not overcoming something, right? It's not really about what you got out of it. It's about that you got out of it. And that to me is what resilience means to me, is that capable that you're able to stand here today after everything that you've been through yesterday.
Incredible. Like mic drop. There we go. That's amazing. I love that. That is such a good way of looking at it, because it's exactly true. If we wouldn't be here if we weren't resilient in one way, shape, or form. And we practice just getting through the day, every single day, navigating everything that happens in our day. We can have really amazing days. We can have very low days, right? Other people's energies affect our days. So just being able to get through that absolutely shows resilience. And you touched as well. We touched on this about how we look at failure. And I liked your touch on success. Like, what is success? And really, like, hitting anything is just about growing. So if you have a goal or you've got something you're working towards, it's not about the goal. It's not about the success. It's about your growth towards the success. Yeah. And honestly, we don't grow if we don't encounter adversities, if we don't face challenges. That's how we grow and evolve as individuals. So what's your take on like how people look at failures or how people look at setbacks? Like in your life now, how do you view a setback or a failure? Do you see it like a really negative, because it really has a negative tone to it.
It does, but I don't see it as a negative anymore, because so there's this famous Denzel Washington quote, which I absolutely love, which is, the devil wouldn't be knocking on your door unless you were doing something right. And that is how setbacks are. So like, if you are doing nothing wrong, like if you're doing nothing worth doing, then you're not going to be faced with setbacks. You're not going to be faced with adversities, and you're not going to be faced with challenges. And for you, that might be amazing, but at the end of it, are you really doing anything monumental? Are you really shaking it up to create the life that you want, or to live the life that you want? Because if it's just very monotone, then that's what it's going to be. And maybe that is what success means to you, because it's, for everybody, it's different. But it's really about acknowledging that anything worthwhile, you will always be faced with some sort of adversities. So honor that and appreciate, celebrate it, because it's taking you to another level. There's always going to be a new mountain to climb. You're never going to get to the top, right? Unless you're climbing Everest. And then like what, but even then, like, she's a big one. So there's a lot along that way, right? And so it's about learning that journey and about appreciating, like you said, like it is the path, it is the process with which we go that we need to appreciate, because that's why when we get up there, we can look down and we can be like, wow, I climbed this. I did this. Yes, I have a whole shit ton more to climb, but like I was there before. Now I'm here now. It's not time to fall off. It's time to hook your harness and go to the next.
I love that. And it's so true about kind of living that just status quo. So yeah, if you're living in a constant status quo, I mean, you've got your own little setbacks, your own little things in your mind that might come up in your life, but really it's when you challenge that and when you try to step above that and try to better yourself, that you are faced with things, because you're facing a lot of things that are new to you. You're a beginner at a lot of things again. So, I'm going to do a whole separate episode coming up on self-doubt and imposter syndrome, but you need to do that. And this whole podcast and all this came to be is because, I want to help others see that they're worthy and deserving of a happy and fulfilling life. What that means though, is you also need to be willing to imagine a happier life. You need to be willing to take a step forward, like you said, to create that for you. So, don't have that devil come knocking, because you should be like trying to do things, you know what I mean? Like you should actually remember here that you have a choice. So this is all about navigating setbacks. This is all about building resilience. But at the end of the day, it's like, as you face a setback, remember, this is happening for you.
Yes.
Look at it as a lesson and what you can learn from it. So before we wrap up, we have a few more minutes here. What would you say, Carina, would be like, I know you talked about a few things that you do to like kind of cultivate your resilience, to work through setbacks, what would be kind of your top strategy or tip that you want people to walk away with today?
Commitment. So keep your commitments to yourself, because I know when we're faced with setbacks, we get all up in our feels and we just can easily go down a rabbit hole and then not honor what is it that we set for ourselves. So it really truly is about setting commitments to yourself. So if you say you're going to get up at that time, get up at that time. You say you're going to go to have a workout, go have a workout. You say you're going to meditate, go meditate. Keep those commitments, because keeping those commitments will not only help you get over the setback and like move forward from the setback, but it will also help build your resilience as well as your self-confidence. And know that it's okay to fall off. Like it's okay if, okay, let's say yesterday you're like, I'm like today, perfect example. I said I was going to go for my workout. It didn't end up working out. Rather than sitting there beating myself up about it, I'm going to figure out a way that I can show up for myself tomorrow in that way. But I'm still going to show up for myself in all the other ways that I set out for today. So it's really about honoring those commitments to self so that you can get out of the space of negativity and move into the space of growth and evolution.
Preach. I love that. That is so good. And I couldn't agree more. Honestly, I've done an episode already on like daily tasks and so forth, but committing, and that is so key. That's something I practice myself. I make a to-do list that is only 6 things and I stick to it and I stay committed to it. And yeah, if I don't get to something, I don't beat myself up. I focus as well on what I got done, not what's left to do. And so that's exactly right. Like that helps to build resilience. That's beautiful. Okay, so as we wrap up here, I'd love for you to share with everyone listening how they could get maybe in touch with you, or if there's anything that you want to share that you're offering right now, feel free to share it with everyone.
Gosh, yes. Okay. So I have a whole bunch of workbooks. I have journals. I have guided meditations all online. You can follow me at c.remi88. So Carina Remi, also, if you want to look me up by name. You can go to my website. Everything's there. I also am launching my course. So that's going to be done. By the time you probably publish and post this, it will be launched and good to go. And it's all about embracing and embodying your power and owning it and just being you, knowing the power that is you at the end of it. So yeah, that's where you guys can find me. I'm also on TikTok, same handle. So yeah.
Perfect. And I'll be sure we'll include all of her links in the show notes. So you'll be able to see them easily, click through to them. I've done her workshop course and it is incredible. So absolutely going to be worth checking out. I'll also, when you launch that, we'll post it on my Instagram and so forth. So thank you, Carina. Thank you. Thank you. This was amazing. So much great insight for everyone. And thanks for being here and being my first guest.
Oh, thank you for having me. Truly appreciate it.
You're so welcome. All right, everyone. Talk to you soon.
Bye.